Hello all, I'm Colette and I'm here today from Witch Ways, and I want to welcome you in this autumnal season if you're watching in real time. It's an appropriate time of year to talk about undoing or canceling spells. First, I believe that anytime you do a spell, you should know how to undo it, and it can be easier or harder depending on the way you carried the spell out. So why might you want to undo a spell? Maybe you did a return to sender back to somebody who ends up not being the person who did it. It might be that you accidentally ill-wished somebody. Or maybe you made a magical mistake. The spell wasn't well thought out. Or maybe the spell worked out in an unexpected way that you didn't like. It had unexpected consequences and you're like, maybe that's not so great. One thing about this I will say is, like, don't do any baneful magic if that's something that you do inside your house. It takes a real expert to clear that stuff out of your house and off your tools. So it's better to do it outside your house. A lot of witches disagree with me, but you know, it's just much more likely to backfire on you and have the energy kind of stick around on you if you do it inside your home. Maybe you made a vow that you find unkeepable, or maybe it was a vow full of grandiosity and things that you can't actually accomplish. Done that one, had to release myself from that this year. So I'll start with undoing a magical vow or promise or commitment you made. So oftentimes at Bridget or other times of years, there's a tradition in witchcraft circles of making a magical commitment. And maybe you made one that was like, I need to reverse that. So I would say you probably learned a lot. Don't beat yourself up from it, but do reverse it. Some of the consequences will continue to percolate through your life, things that were already in motion for a while, but you will feel better. I felt instantly better once I asked and was granted to be released from my vow. Set up an altar similar to how the altar looked when you made your original commitment. Make sure you invite the beings that you had that witnessed your spell to be there, and then just go in, light a candle, go into magical space, and ask the beings that witnessed it to please release you from this vow, because you've realized it is unworkable in your life and you can't live up to it, and that you need to be released. And then burn some banishing or releasing herbs and thank the spirits. Make lots of offerings, thank them for witnessing you, and then close your ritual down. Some other reasons you might need to undo a spell is that you were in a really terrible frame of mind when you did the spell, and somehow that percolated into the magic. It doesn't always, because often going into magical space kind of perks you up, but it can happen that some of that bad mood kind of percolates into your spell, and you don't want that coming through in the consequences. Now that I've talked about why you might need to undo a spell, I'm going to actually tell you how to do that. First, there are different thoughts on undoing spells. Some people feel like, yeah, you really can't undo them. Once they're done, that's it. Live with the consequences. I don't actually believe that's true, but I think it can be challenging in certain circumstances. Some people feel that you cannot undo a spell if it has come to fruition and sort of completed itself. In that case, that you have to do a new spell to reverse it. Let's talk about the easiest way first, and that's if it was a spell that used physical components that you still have. What you need to do is cast and call. Make sure that you invited any beings that you originally asked to come, light candles and have offerings ready. Then what you do is you tell the spirits who helped you with this, who were present originally, that your intent is to undo this spell. And you let them know that the spell has done its work. It is finished. You no longer need this work to progress, and be really clear about that. Say that as many ways as you can think of to let them know, thanking them for their help as you go along. Thank you. I really appreciate your assistance and support. And this working is now done. I do not need this magic to progress any further, so mote it be. Then as you're doing that, you can start taking your spell apart, reversing the steps, unfolding any pieces of paper that you folded, taking them out of charm bags, pulling apart the herbs, untying any cords, knots, or string binding things together, scraping any wax off of objects to the best of your ability, and make sure that you wash any jars or plates that you might have placed invisible symbols on, either with your finger or with water or with herbal tea, washing them thoroughly, again stating that you don't need this work to progress, and then clear everything. Then dispose of the individual items that are compostable back to the earth, and then throw the other things away. If it's not baneful magic, you can just really thoroughly clear the jars, etc. that you used and use them another time. So when you're completely done, you might want to say something like, I release this, I release this, I release this. It is no longer magical, it is done. Something, again, just to be really clear. If it is baneful magic, you want to proceed a little differently. Again, you want to call the beings together who helped you with this work, make offerings, thank them, and then again let them know that you don't want this magic to progress any further, just like you did before. But I would be more cautious. I would invite a protective being into the circle with you, and as you're starting to take your baneful spell magic apart, if you do those, you might want to wear gloves and use sticks to take it apart. Sometimes you do this because the ingredients that you put in a baneful magic are like not great. They're like piss or blood or rotten things or stickery things like thorns or broken glass. And then you just take the spell outside and then throw it all in the garbage can. You might even want to do the releasing and the undoing outside. Thank the spirits that helped you. Do a triple clearing of yourself. Immediately wash your hands, shower, do a salt scrub, make an offering to the spirits when you're finally clear, and thank them for their help. If you don't have the components of a physical spell that you did, it's much harder, but still doable. Here's how I would reverse that. And I would cast a circle, call, but you do whatever you normally do to start magic. Invite any beings in that helped you. Let them know that you want to reverse the spell that you did or reverse some aspect of it. Then what I would do is write out on a piece of paper, I want to undo the spell that I did about this thing on this date, if you remember the date, which is another reason why it's really important to write everything that you do down so you can go back and check. Then take that piece of paper, add some releasing herbs like blue vervain or rosemary into the center of the paper, fold it up and burn it. Make an offering to the spirits, clear the space, say, I release this, I release this, I release this. This is no longer magically needed. I do not wish this magic to progress, so mote it be, or something along those lines. Since it's harder to undo a spell that you don't have the physical objects for, you might want to optimize it by using other things. So one way to do this is to do this magic a few days after the full moon up until new moon. This is the time of gentle releasing. The darker the moon gets, the more powerful releasing energy it is until it gets very dark, and then it's extreme banishing energy. So you can do it at that time to just sort of enhance the magic of what you're doing. Another thing that you can do is, before you do your undoing spell, is to take some moon water that was made during the waning phase of the moon and overlay the paper with that water, or with an herbal tea of releasing herbs like rosemary. Let the paper dry before you start your magic and before you write on it and burn it. I also wanted to just remind you all to hit the like, the subscription, and the notification bell if you're enjoying my content. And I also wanted to let you know that I'm running a fall promo on Patreon. I'm going to put a link below. So until I see you next time, stay safe and be well.